Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. This is a 2,000 point game between my Dark Elves and an excellently painted skink-based Lizardmen army. So let's go into deployment. Starting on my right, my opponent's left, we have my 5 Dark Riders and then 10 Dark Shards and a Poison Forest. Moving on to the center, we have my 30 Witch Elves in a Horde formation, then 33 Executioners with my 2 Master characters in there. One's a BSB. And then moving on to the right, we see my level 4 on a Dark Steed, Lore of Death. 10 more Dark Shards, then we have 5 Dark Riders, and then finally rounded out with 5 more Warlocks. We go into my opponent's deployment, you're going to see a bunch of scattered blobs of skinks. My opponent has placed them down. I took my pictures a little too early. He straightens them up into nice little blocks, and you'll see that in turn 1. But as you see them deployed right now, they're going to be, just thrown on the table, and it's not a big deal. So just want to give you guys a heads up before I get all those comments. So over here we have 15 skirmishing skinks with blowpipes, and behind that is a salamander hunting pack. In the center I have a unit of Saurus warriors with the Slan and the Scarvet, and then we have another unit of 15 skinks. Over here on the right side we have a unit of 4 Croxagore, then 2 units of 12 skinks with blowpipes, and then another unit of salamanders in the back. And then scout ahead here, I have another picture of them also, are the first of the 10, I believe, chameleon skinks, and then finally over here on the right we have 10 more. So here we are going into the vanguard moves. You can see here I'm moving my fast cav on the left. I don't do that so much on the right. So this is a very cagey army, so a very shoot and flee, shoot and flee. So my game plan here is really just to try to prevent it from skirting my flanks too early and try to keep everything in front of me. So let's go into Dark Elf turn 1. Alright, so Dark Elves do win turn 1, and here I go moving everything forward. So I push everything forward, as you can see here. You can see that the Executioners are taking lead, or points, or whatever you want to call it, and everything else is pretty much protecting everybody else's flanks. I'm trying to make it so that these skirmishing units don't immediately make it around my flanks of any of my units. So he can move towards the flank of my Executioners, but then he's in danger of being charged by my Witches or the other crossbows. He can try to move over to the flanks of my Witches, in which he'll be exposed to my crossbows in the Poison Forest, and maybe even my Dark Riders. If he tries to overload on my, say, my right side against my Witches, I can charge my Witches at something. He can flee, but maybe I'll roll up enough space so that my Dark Riders can charge the chameleon skinks that are trying to make it around the flank of my Witches. So really the only weakness right now here is if he, I guess, focuses primarily on those crossbows in the trees, but again, they're in cover, so they're not going to be terribly easy to hit. He could also run around the flank of the crossbows, but that's a pretty far a flanking maneuver, so it'll take his skirmishers out of the game for at least a turn. So, that's the game plan, and let's see how the magic phase turns out. Alright, so here we are in the Dark Elf magic phase, and I hate to say it, but I'm really going to lean on Doom Bolt in this game. I feel like it's the best weapon I have in Magic to deal with all these skirmishing units, and so that's the plan, and of course I fail first turn. We go into the shooting phase, and these are gunslingers here. They shoot through the woods at the chameleon skinks, who get an additional -1, and they're skirmishers, and I managed to kill one. Same thing for this unit, Dark Riders kill one, and then finally the other Dark Rider unit comes over here and kills one. So pretty good for the shooting, even though it's minimal, and we get a look at the board as you can see here, and then we move into Lizardman turn 1. Alright, so here we are in Lizardman turn 1. He's pushing up his left flank. He's really going to make me pay for not getting that Doom Bolt off. Could really thinned out the salamanders or killed off a bunch of those skinks. But oh well, we move over to the center, and the Saurus warriors back up. We also realize that the Slan can't be in the unit because he's ethereal, so he comes out, and then the skirmishers move up to try to intercept my Executioners. Finally, on the right flank, he's really going for that overload strategy over here, and so yeah, it's daunting. I am going to get shot up a lot, but as you can see, I have effectively kept everything in front of me and have units in place to actually respond to all of them. So they're not going to be able to flank me. He's going to have to flee, and that's going to be, it's going to wear me down, but at least he's not going to be unchecked in my backfield. Okay, so here's some looks of the board from both the left and right flank before we jump into the magic phase. When we go into the magic phase, I really play into my opponent's hands. He really gets me to waste my Dispel Scroll. I try to stop everything rather than stop the most important thing, and so he's able to get off comet, and that's just horrible. I should have paid more attention to what I was doing, but I didn't. We go in the shooting phase. It's actually not too great for him. He misses a bunch over here, notably though. He does kill off 4 of my 5 warlocks. Alright, so here we are in Dark Elf turn 2, and there's lots of things going on here. As you can see, I have 2 options to charge, the Skirmishers or the Kroxigor. My opponent sees this. He decides to stand and shoot at the Skirmishers since that's my first charge, and that's what happens. I charge and I make it in there, so that's great. On the other side, we have the Witches who first charged the Chameleon Skinks that were further in the woods. This is after they fled, and you can see that they still fled not terribly far, and it was still reasonable for me to catch them. With that in mind, I also declared charge of my Dark Riders at the Chameleon Skinks first, and being that I could reasonably catch those other Chameleon Skinks, he decided to flee with them. And I also believe I then redirected into the blue Skinks, saying if my Witches make it, then I'm going to be able to charge, and then so he also elected to flee there. So it worked out really well. I got 2-3 units to flee. And unfortunately, I didn't make it with the Witches. It would have been way awesome to have caught 2 units of Skinks, but it didn't work out that way, and that's fine. At least they're still in front of me, and now they're fleeing. Unfortunately, on the left flank, it went a different way. I had a reasonably easy charge here. I think I needed a 5 on 3 dice, and I failed that. So that's all the charges. We go into movement. I then move the Doomfire Warlock over here to cast Doombolt, and then I move everything else, as you can see here in the center. So now we go into the magic phase, and we'll see how it works out. Alright, so we go into the magic phase. I have a 3 dice advantage. I'm going to try to use that to milk away some of those dispel dice. Instead, I piss it away because I can't cast the spell. I'm so bad at rolling. When I can get an advantage, I throw it away all the time. We go for Doombolt. We're tied. He dispels it. We move on. Alright, go in the shooting phase. We shoot a couple Skinks here and there, and then we go straight into combat. And of course, I cream those Skinks. They had no business fighting these Executioners. The good thing though for me was, and I wish I would have caught this because I don't like how it went out this way, but I didn't catch it. I just saw the end result. I wasn't paying attention. We go in there. I kill a bunch of Skinks. He's taking them from the left side. He probably should have took them from the right side, but he takes all these casualties. But he doesn't. I don't kill them all, and so of course he breaks. And when he flees, we go center to center, and as you can see here, it helps me run into these Source Warriors. Now, if I would have paid attention at all to how he was taking his casualties, I would have advised him to take them from the right. But I didn't even really realize what was going on. I just know that he took his casualties. I was like, oh, you didn't kill it? I didn't kill everybody. Let's measure center to center, and bam, there I was in his Source Warriors. Had I been paying attention, and it's the only way I can figure, looking over the battle report now, how this worked out, looking at the angles, is that he must have been pulling them from the left. So, wish I would have caught it. Don't like when those things happen, especially because I'm sure it was something he wasn't aware of. But that's how it happened, and now I am in combat with those Source Warriors, and that's pretty good for me. Probably should have went a different way. As we go into Lizardmen turn 2, I can see I made a mistake earlier. I thought that the second unit of blue Skinks that I charged the Dark Riders after I charged the Chameleons had fled. They did not. They actually stood and shoot, and they just didn't do anything. So the only units that had fled last turn were the 2 green units of Chameleon Skinks. The 2 regular units of Skinks have moved forward, but again, I've kept them in my front arc, so that's good news there. In the center, we have the Kroxigors turning to face my flank here to threaten me later. And then finally we have the Skinks. I'm skipping ahead to the shooting phase a little bit here, but the Skinks turn around and kill off the last of the Warlocks. And then the Salamanders move forward to take on the last of the Dark Riders. Alright, so we're going to go to the magic phase. It's a pretty big one for the Lizardmen. I'm looking just to stop Commented Casadora and of course Ice Shard Blizzard. So he's going to target Chain Lightning on my Sorceress. I'm going to let that through because I have a 3+ ward. And I'm unsuccessful trying to stop Ice Shard Blizzard, unfortunately. So the end result, even though I have a 3+ ward, is that I take 2 wounds from the Chain Lightning, and then we go in the shooting phase, and the Dark Riders take some flames to the face, but they don't break. The shooting from the Skinks whittles a little bit of the Witches, but the big damage comes from the Salamanders in the trees when they blow fire on them. Thankfully, they're frenzied up, so they don't care too much, and we go into combat. Alright, so we get into a challenge here with my Master of the Ogre Blade against his little Scarvet. We get in combat. I do about 5 wounds. It looks like he does 7 to me. I believe I do 1 wound to his character. He does none to me. After taking the Potion of Strength, he just whiffs, and I barely win this combat by 2. He, of course, sticks, and I'm actually really lucky he whiffed all his attacks, because otherwise I would have slammed in there and lost. Alright, so here we go into my turn. Thankfully, that was my opponent's turn, so I don't have to worry about those Kroxigors just yet. But over here we have my witches lined up to charge those skinks in front of them, and then I have the dark riders over here also lined up to charge the skinks beside them. The witches take a couple wounds from a stand and shoot, otherwise they both make it in pretty easily. And we go into the other side of the board where I desperately send these dark riders into the salamanders. Alright, so we go into the turn 3 magic phase, and of course I get one of those magic phases that I think are the best, where you can just guarantee you the one key spell you need. And so we got that going for me. We do a random wound to the Croxagore in the shooting phase. We start off our combat phase here on the right with the witches against the skinks, and they of course blow through them and then lose a bunch of girls to the dangerous train techs going through the poison forest. And then over here we have the dark riders of course easily beating their skinks and running them down.
The steady drum of heavy armor in unison increased in tempo as the executioner's chase led them towards the Lizardmen's battle lines. With eager anticipation, warriors hefted the steel-bloodied blades over their shoulders, ready for strike. A primitive drum beat signaled the collective lock of scaled shields, mere meters from the connected charge. A calmness lingered in the moments before the impact of battle thundered across the dueling lines. Some of the vanguard cleaved through the scaled wall, lopping off heads and splitting open chests as an axe across a hardened log. The more reckless, though, found themselves laid low by the thud of heavy shields, while the others found their strikes deflected and then gored by obsidian rebuttals. Wave of fury the executioners brought forth stalled. The scale defense chipped, but never buckled. A tipping point was in balance. From behind the shield wall, a primeval roar echoed an instinctual challenge to the Druichi's best.
So I hope you enjoyed that, because that's the last time I'm ever doing that. That hurt my throat a bunch. I just want to do that just for the kicks. Never again. It's too hard. And it's all just to say I got into a challenge here, and I killed the guy, Ochre Blade Master versus the Scarvet. And after that, we did some more casualties to the Lizardmen because that Soul Blight was off. Helped me tip that battle into my favor. The remainder of them broke, they ran off the table, and then I turned to face the Croxagore. So with that, before we go to the next turn, let me tell you guys one other thing. Alright, so have you been looking for these things? Have you been wanting to get the Lore of Undeath Battle Magic card set, but you can't find anything because somebody came to your store and bought them all, and they're selling them on eBay now for 5 times their value? Or maybe you're just one of those people and you happen to come across my video and you want to take these and do the same thing with this set? Well, that's your choice. I think you're a bastard if you do that, but I can't stop you. I'm going to be giving these for free to one of my lucky subscribers, I guess you could say. If you want to enter to win these, the only deal is you can't live here in Hawaii, because I assume you can easily go to the store and purchase them yourself. Otherwise, if you're abroad, you can enter this. The only thing I ask is that you do one thing for me, and that is subscribe to another video, another channel. To be precise, if you're looking for other channels that deal with Warhammer, I have a huge listing of them. I don't have cable, so my entertainment comes from YouTube and like video sources that deal with news. That's pretty much all I watch is news or bat reps. So exciting, I know, but that's my TV entertainment. So that's the deal. Please subscribe to another video. Again, my channel has a listing of I think almost 40 different Warhammer Fantasy bat rep channels. Please, if you're looking for some, go on there and look for them. If you want to enter, then this is what I ask you to do. Please go to the channel that you're going to subscribe to. Tag my name in there, but don't say anything like, "Oh, here's my trying to enter your contest comment." Just be like, "Hey, William Page, this is a great video." Something like that. Something that's not like showy. I don't want anybody but you and me to know that this is going on. That's why this is hidden in the middle of a video. So if you could do that, I'll enter you. If you comment, "Hey William Page, this is my entrance into your contest," I'm going to put your name on a piece of paper and burn it. That's what I'm going to do. So don't do that. So okay. So anyways, that's how you enter. Again, subscribe to another channel, comment on that person's channel, tag my name in it to say, "Hey, this is a great video, check it out," and then I'll enter your name into a metaphorical hat. I'll draw it, say, on the 14th of this month, and hopefully you win. Alright, so let's get back to the battle report. Alright, so here we are at the end of the combat phase. He does kill the other unit of Dark Riders that charge the Salamanders. And this is us going into Lizardmen turn 3. He's going to move some skinks here in front of the Croxagore. I don't think I take a picture of it till later, and I don't want any more spoilers. So now we'll go into Magic. Alright, so we go into the Magic phase, and my opponent goes for Chain Lightning first. He's targeting my Sorceress. I don't really care. She hasn't done anything this game, and I'm looking to stop Comet. Of course, he doesn't stop Comet, and he casts Chain Lightning and gets it, or Ice Shard Blizzard, and gets it on my Executioners. In the shooting phase, we have some Crossbowmen die to Salamanders. We have the Chameleons kill off all my Dark Riders. And then we go into combat, and my Assassin was in this Witch unit, and I completely forgot. So when they finally succumbed to these poison attacks from the Skink Handlers, I also lost the Assassin. So this is another inglorious end for the Assassin. Well, with 2 units of crossbows left and just these Executioners, it's going to go down pretty fast. We're going to kill the Skinks off and overrun into the Source Warriors, the Croxagores I mean. And then over here I'm going to shoot this guy dead. Alright, so here we are in Lizardmen turn 4, and he's just converging on the crossbow units. And then we jump into Magic phase, and I'm looking just to stop Ice Shard Blizzard because it's the only thing that's going to pick up my advance with my Executioners, which are pretty much my only effective force right now. So he gets through Comet, and he gets through Lightning. He sets up the Comet, of course. Lightning does minimal damage to a crossbow unit. Then we go into shooting. These guys and the Skinks put a hurting on this one last guy. There's only one guy left. And then these Skinks and the other final Salamander do a little bit of damage here, but they stick. We go into combat, and as you can see here, I kill the 4 Croxagore pretty easily, especially since it doesn't have the Hex, and I reform to face the dreaded Slan. So my turn's pretty short. I only have one guy with a magical weapon, plus I want to get these Executioners away from the Comet, so I charge him in, and I reform and move with my Executioners. I don't know why the Comet token's not on the board, but it's pretty close to this whole area. Alright, so here we are in Lizardmen turn 5. You can see we have the Skinks up here. I realize now why I didn't see the Comet. He cast it anticipating the Executioners overrunning past the Croxagore. It went off already. He cast Comet again. This time it is close to everybody. He also gets off Blizzard so he can protect his Slan. So he shoots these guys with the Salamander and they break, but they don't go off the table. And then he's unable to kill this guy with the 2 Salamanders. We go into combat. I put a wound on the Slan, and that's it. So here we go into Dark Elf turn 6. So in the Dark Elf turn, I move around some crossbowmen so they can't get charged immediately in his turn. The Executioners move away from the Comet. The Magic phase happens, the Comet comes down, the Comet kills his Slan, and I think maybe put a wound on my hero there. These guys rally, and that's it. The Salamanders move around to get into range of this guy again, but fail to kill him. The Skirmishers shoot and kill a bunch of Executioners, but not enough. We come over here, the Salamanders unleash their fire breath against this guy, but he's still standing afterwards. He just can't wound him. And then over here we have the Skirmishers kill off all but with this one guy, but he breaks and flees off the board. Alright, there you have it. It's going to be a Dark Elf victory, mainly because the Slan died from his own Comet. That was just bad luck that ended up happening there. So otherwise, I think he would have won. Maybe it would have been a tie, but yeah, that Comet really helped me out. So here we go. That's the end of this report. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember what we discussed earlier in this battle report. If you watch it all the way through, you know what I'm talking about. If you make a comment, you better make it, what's the word I'm looking for? Inconspicuous. Yep, inconspicuous. Make it inconspicuous. Alright, so I really like it that you guys have watched this. I do appreciate all of your likes, comments, and subscriptions, and I'll see you next week.